Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here at the First Alert Desk. My name's Karli Barnett, and we want to give you a look at some of the stories that we are following for your Saturday. We know many of you may be out and about enjoying your Memorial Day weekend. That's why we want to come on here and give you the news, whether you have your device in your hand. Make sure you go ahead and download our Atlanta News First app. That way you will have breaking news updates sent directly to your phone, as well as weather updates, which we know a lot of you are probably wondering about for your long weekend. In just a few minutes here, we're going to have First Alert meteorologist Patrick Pete joining us. He's going to help answer your weather questions for your neighborhood, as well as how you want to plan those barbecues, those pool days, whatever you're enjoying to take advantage of our holiday weekend. I see Wesley is joining us. Hey, Wesley, checking in from Ackworth. We appreciate you joining us here at the First Alert Desk. But I do first want to get to a couple of stories that we are following for your Saturday. We hope you joined us at 6 o'clock. You can join us next again at 10 on Peachtree TV and 11 on WANF. Now, this is a positive update to a story that we brought you this week. A man who had been missing in Guatemala has now been found. Our reporter, Bridget Spencer, she is going to be bringing us more information this evening, but we have learned that the Gwinnett County man who went missing on a solo hike in Guatemala earlier this week has now been found. Zane Waliani, who is 26, was located this morning, according to his sister, and has been taken to a local hospital. Waliani originally had gone missing Tuesday night when hiking the Volcán de Acantacano, which is near the city of Antigua in the southern part of Guatemala. His family said that he had split up with a friend at base camp near midnight and never returned. So loved ones started an online fundraiser. They were seeking $20,000 to help locate him. And his friend had said, this is a man who would do anything for his family and friends. He makes it known his love for people. So we now have confirmed through his sister that he has been found. He's been transported to a hospital. At this time, his condition is still unknown. We do know that he did suffer dehydration, his sister told us, but as I said, our reporter, Bridget Spencer, actually spoke with family this evening, and she is going to have a full update. But happy to know that after 5 days, he has finally been located. Good news there. We have this story that we brought you as breaking news a little bit earlier. We are waiting to learn even more information about what exactly took place here. This is some raw footage from our Atlanta News First photographers of the scene. Atlanta police are investigating a shooting that took place at Deerwood Park. Now, Atlanta police have gotten back to us. They confirmed that officers there are investigating a person shot near 2790 Alexandria Drive Southwest. They are still trying to gather information. As you saw, there are many police cars here on the scene. Crime scene tape is up. At this point, we don't know who was shot. We don't know their condition. But we do know that one individual has been shot, and police are on the scene working to get more information. To continue checking back with this story, go to AtlantaNewsFirst.com. We're going to continue to post updates there. But what we know is you can see daylight out there pretty much, and this is happening at a park on a busy Memorial Day weekend. So still a little bit unclear what happened here, what led up to this shooting, but remember what you can see the local park busy. And this next story we have been talking about since this happened back on May 12th. There is a club in Buckhead called 1145 Lounge where on May 12th there was a mass shooting. 2 people were shot and killed, 4 others were wounded. And we just learned yesterday, we brought this to you as breaking news, that the city of Atlanta is now taking steps in an effort to try to get the doors to close at this club. We know that there were documents filed in the Superior Court of Georgia that show the city is seeking a temporary restraining order against the lounge, its manager, and the property owner's company, as well as others. Again, this is something that's all taken place in the last 2 weeks, but this particular club has had a troubled history, as records have indicated. So I want to share with you a little bit more background there, as well as what we know at this point. Now, we did reach out to the property manager, did not return our request for comment. We have made a number of reaches to him. He has never answered any of our inquiries. We did also reach out to the property owner. He did respond saying no comment. So this is still in the very early stages. Important to note here, we spoke to a legal expert who said because this was not filed as an emergency, that the club is still within its right to operate unless the courts decide otherwise. So right now, we were out there last night. It was still fairly early. The club opens its doors at 10. Around 11, we started seeing people pulling into the parking lot, driving their cars there. We started hearing music from the establishment. So they were very much open last night. And we are still awaiting more details about what exactly this order entails and when the projected court date for when they could decide whether to temporarily close this establishment or however they want to proceed going forward. So we will keep you updated, of course, on Atlanta News First and atlantanewsfirst.com. Dollface McQueen and Judy Wallace expressing gratitude that hiker has been found safely. I know such good news, and I know his family is extremely relieved tonight, as anyone would be. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take you all outside. We're looking live now over Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, and I would imagine that is where maybe a lot of you or maybe your loved ones making some travel plans for the Memorial Day weekend. Of course, we want everybody to stay safe, to enjoy, but we know that we may be having to contend with some rain. Not necessarily that you have to cancel your plans, right, Patrick, but just maybe plan accordingly.
I think that we've been through the most widespread rain that we're going to see this weekend. Speaking of Saturday and Sunday, but there is a bit of a shift as we head into Monday. Monday is a first alert weather day. Really, our city looking gorgeous out there. A few more clouds than we would all like, I'm sure, but all in all, not a bad evening, especially considering how the day started. I don't know what you were doing this morning when those storms were rolling in, but it was definitely a bit messy this morning. By early afternoon, those storms had cleared out. Good news, I expect tomorrow to be a drier day. Good evening to everyone. Meteorologist Patrick Pete here to fill you in on what we're expecting over the course of the next couple of days. And there are some spotty storms in the forecast tomorrow. There's something that's called a mesoscale convective system. It's basically a cluster of thunderstorms. It's going to move into our area tomorrow, and some folks are going to see some storms. I think that 85% of you will not. But the folks that are in that 15%, it's going to be heavy downpours. There's going to be some gusty winds, a lot of lightning, probably some hail, and we cannot rule out a little bit of rotation. I don't think the rotation is likely, but that number is non-zero, especially north and west of Atlanta. A first alert weather day for scattered rain and storms on Monday. Good evening, Wesley. Thank you for joining us. Hello to Judy, Dollface McQueen. Hello. Good evening to you. Hopefully you all are staying dry because it is a bit humid out there. So if you plan on getting outside, the humidity definitely a factor. We're in the mid 80s right now. Temperatures are going to gradually slide into the 70s as we head into the next few hours. But make no mistake, it's going to be a very warm overnight period. So plan accordingly. Upper 60s for us here in Atlanta, mid to upper 60s once you start to head into the suburbs. Let's get you into tomorrow's main feature. And I understand that seeing this graphic is scary. From the perspective of, we're kind of saying that it's going to be mostly dry tomorrow, but you see that Northwest Georgia is under a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe storms, and most of the metros in a level 1. And that's because it's going to depend on where this complex sets up. Weather models are very great. They serve a big part of our job is, most of our job is going through the weather models, the different array of them, and deciphering what we think's going to happen. And there are a couple of models that are picking up on this complex that I was speaking of a few minutes ago. And all of the models that show it happening somewhere in the areas that you see highlighted here. So that's why there is that level 2 out of 5 for extreme northwest Georgia, and then level 1 for everyone else. The exact placement of that complex, models just don't handle well. They didn't handle it well this morning. It just never does. We can typically get signatures that it's going to happen, but the placement we typically get an idea of a couple of hours beforehand. So It's more of a now casting thing, so a reason for you to tune in tomorrow morning. Courtney Jacobazi will be here in the morning. She's going to have that freshest data before you get out of the door to see where that sets up. But I'll have another look tonight on Peachtree TV at 10 and on Atlanta News First at 11. So here's that complex right now moving into northwest Georgia. And for, I would say, the last couple of hours, this has been pretty much timing out and holding out to be in that area where that level 2 out of 5 risk is, moving into extreme northwest Georgia at around lunchtime. That's going to be folks that are north of Chattooga County. That's going to be just outside of our viewing area, although some of those folks there, they get a signal from us. As it moves into the metro, the guidance has this weakening. But once again, there's a lot of humidity out there. There's a lot of energy out there. So for some of these storms to actually be able to hold on to some of its energy through about 2 or 3 o'clock is not unheard of. As we get closer to about 4 or 5, that pushes out, and then we're done with it. As you can see, everybody's not impacted, but once again, those who are, they're going to feel it. And I know that we always say use our First Alert Weather app because we want you to use it. We want to be able to talk to you about warnings and stuff. But more importantly, if you have plans to be out in the streets tomorrow, like I do and as do most of us, you're going to want to know if those storms are in your area. So go about your life, because that's what I'm going to be doing, getting all of it. But know that if you get that alert that says lightning's 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 miles away, you should probably keep an eye on where that is. You get that alert, there's a radar in the app. So all you have to do is just check out where the storm is, and if it's moving in your direction or away. If it's moving away, you're probably good. If it's moving towards, you probably want to make sure that you and everybody that's, in the barbecue playing spades, poker, whatever the case may be. Unfortunately, Uno, because people do that still. I don't know why. Joke between me and my friends, we think that Uno is for younger kids. Spades, poker, phase 10. A little bit more strategy. Anyways, I think that you're going to be fine. So that's why I say don't cancel your plans, because I'm not going to. I always typically try to give you guys advice that I use when it comes to weather. So I think that if you're going out tomorrow morning for church service, I think you're fine. It's going to be warm. It's going to be humid, so short sleeves if you can get away with it. As we head into the afternoon, we'll see those temperatures start to climb. We're also going to be tracking that little cluster moving in. So that's where that 20% chance of that isolated thunderstorm. It's going to be a cluster of storms that moves through. Everybody's not going to get it, but I think that it's out by around 3, 4 o'clock, which means the second half of the day is going to be nice. The atmosphere has time to recover, and most of us will see those temperatures climb into the 80s, if not 90 degrees. I have that forecast high for us here in Atlanta at 90, so very hot. And then for everybody that's in the backyard tomorrow evening, maybe doing that little Tamia line dance or whatever you're doing, I think you're fine. You're hot, humid, drink water, along with whatever else you're doing, and I think you're going to be fine. The weather is much drier and more tranquil as we head into the evening. We are still watching this First Alert Weather Day from Memorial Day. That's still a thing. A cold front's going to be moving through our area. It's going to drop temperatures a couple degrees, but it's going to have a bigger impact on the humidity, which is what I love most about fronts this time of year. But there's going to be a lot of cape out ahead of this, a lot of energy for these thunderstorms to tap into. I think the timing right now is working in our favor, but can't rule out a isolated severe thunderstorm. Right now, damaging wind gusts looks like the primary threat with this because of the timing and all of the dynamics that are in play. But it's something that could be a bit annoying, so that's why we give you the heads up. Scattered rain and thunderstorms starting to move into extreme northwest Georgia at roughly 6, 7 a.m. Most of y'all are still asleep because most of us don't work. I do think that if you have a morning flight out of Atlanta, because some folks are going to be going back home, maybe there could be a little bit of a delay. I don't see like a permanent, whatever. But as this line of storms moves in, there's going to be some gusty winds associated with it. There may be a little bit of a delay at the airport, so plan for that. But you can see that by 10, it's moving through the city, which means that by around 1, 2 o'clock, it's moving out of our viewing area, which means that if you are having maybe another situation on Memorial Day, things are fine in the afternoon. A couple of scattered thunderstorms should fire up at around 4 or 5 o'clock. Looks like this should happen mainly in East Georgia. Can't completely rule that out in the metro, but right now this trend has been a positive one for us. So we'll see what the data says tonight at 10 and 11. Another reason for you to tune in tonight. But we should trend a little bit drier as we head into your Tuesday. I mentioned that this cold front was going to drop temperatures by a couple of degrees, but drop the dew points by like 15 to 20. That's going to have an impact on how it feels outside. We look at dew points to determine how uncomfortable it's going to be. And with those numbers falling back into the 50s, that's going to be a little bit more manageable. It's going to be noticeable, and I think you all are going to love it. It's going to be great to get out. Maybe if you're off work one of those days, maybe you took the whole week off or an extra day, getting out by the pool is going to be really amazing Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Temperatures start to creep back up, and we'll be watching for another chance for some showers and storms on Saturday. So, thank you all for joining us this evening. I know it's Saturday. There's a million places that you can be, and you chose to be here with me and Karli. Well, we are working hard behind the scenes to bring you guys the news of the day. I know that our reporters are out in the field right now following some breaking news. And then, of course, I'm going to have a look at your first alert forecast tonight before you go to sleep. There's a lot going on. I'll get some new information on this little complex that we were talking about just now. Just keep in mind that on the news, I can't really talk for 8-10 minutes about it. I'm going to have to condense that to about 3. But I'll keep it to the cliff notes of what you need to know, where I think those storms are going to fire up tomorrow. And then I'll give you some updated timeline on those afternoon rain chances on Monday. The morning stuff looks pretty set and staged. It's been trending that way for a couple days now. This afternoon pop, it's what's in flux. And normally that's what's in flux. So I have some more data tonight, and I will chat with you about that then. For now, I'm going to leave you with the 7-day forecast so that you can plan ahead. And I will see you guys on the airwaves in just a little bit. Have a fantastic rest of your Saturday. Enjoy your Sunday with your friends and family. And remember to honor everyone who's made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms on Monday. Everyone who's lost their life. So pray for them, pray for their families, and, I will catch you on the flip side. Have a fantastic Saturday.